Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR. Mac and me, my name's TJ, two elderly, seasoned gentlemen out of the Great Lakes state of Michigan, using this platform to vent. And according to YouTube, we are, what did they call us, Mac? White nationalist conspiracy theorists?
Because they didn't watch the video. They just looked at the title, jumped to their fascist conclusion, and tagged our video as a white genocide conspiracy theory. And that theory that they were saying we were espousing, which we did not, and anyone who watched the video knows this, that white people are being replaced by people of color. That had nothing to do with the topic at hand. We talked about a genocide on white farmers in South Africa. That's not even disputable.
Yep.
It's not a
Well,
theory. It's certainly not a conspiracy.
well, anyways, according to YouTube, we are white nationalists out of the Great Lakes state of Michigan. On to today's segment. And I was just sharing with Mac as we communicate through the week. Uh, this big, beautiful bill situation. It's stuck in the Senate right now, and I say stuck. Okay, hopefully by July 4th it gets unstuck. But it passed the House a little over a week ago, barely, and I'll get to that barely. But during the course of last week, all sorts of detail was starting to become made known, and I don't know if everyone's aware of the behind the scene politicking and tomfoolery. I don't. I mean, you know what? Dare I say bovine excrement? Okay,
Yeah.
it barely passed the House, 215 to 214.
Well, here's the thing. Democrats weren't voting for it. That's for damn sure.
That's for sure. It passed party line vote, sorta. Okay, two voted against it. Thomas Massey out of Kentucky, Warren Davidson out of Ohio. One voted present, and Andy Harris out of Maryland. One now, and when this vote and when the big beautiful bill was finally voted on, I guess it was in the wee hours of the morning, so all sorts of whatever was playing out overnight. But in the wee hours of the morning, it was finally voted on. One Republican failed to vote Andrew Barbino out of New York because he was asleep. Okay. Uh, one didn't one Republican, their vote didn't count because they got there too late. Now, why they got there too late, I don't know. Maybe they too were asleep. I don't know. But this Schweikert out of Arizona, he got there too late. So even though he voted for it, it didn't count.
Ask you a
Okay.
question. In your job, if you were on your high-low and your boss came along and you were asleep, what might happen?
Uh, you could basically say my forklift license. You know what? If I was lucky, only my forklift license would be pulled. That's if
Yeah.
I was
So
lucky.
these people shouldn't. You can't stay awake. Get the hell out.
It's just uh now hey, check this out. Two Democrats, due to their recent passing, which means their seats haven't yet been filled, okay? But because two Democrats recently passed away, had they not passed away, what? This thing wouldn't have passed? The big, beautiful bill would not have passed? Because my count, it would have been 215 to 216 if the Republicans were the idiots that they appeared to be. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm getting worked up. These idiots in the DC bubble, this is why us in flyover country get so frustrated with them idiots in DC. What more, you know, I, you know, I don't know, Mac.
I
You
wonder
you
about the Republican leadership in the House and in the Senate because there's a quote by the late Archbishop Fulton Sheen that I rather fond of, and the quote is, "You can always do what you want to do," and they don't seem to want to do it.
well, like I said, now the big beautiful bill stuck in the Senate. The Senate's doing what they're doing. If they tamper with it too much, it jeopardizes the House vote. Whatever. Now, here's a dirty little secret that I don't know if Marjorie Taylor Greene did it intentionally, but she did it. She let the cat out of the bag, and the cat being Doge cuts are not in this big beautiful bill, which shocked a lot of MAGA people. It shocked me. And as I get ready for work and drive to work in the morning, I listen to a Chris DeGaulle. Okay, he's a Salem News host, and he does the 6 to 9 hour, okay, frame 9 hour time slot. He even admitted he didn't realize the finer minutia of how things work in DC, because he was even a little he was kind of wondering what's going on with the Doge cuts that ain't being cut. Okay. And I suspected this from the very start, though I was suspecting it more. Dare I use the term conspiracy theory? I said, one way or another, they're going to find a way not to implement these Doge cuts. Well, what's happening? And if one of our viewers find a find a technical definition of mine incorrect, by all means, nail me to the cross. Okay, but from what I understand, from what I heard on Chris DeGaulle and other commentators, the big beautiful bill is being passed by reconciliation. Reconciliation ought to sound familiar because reconciliation is how Obamacare passed, if
Right.
you recall.
Yeah.
Okay,
This other crap we don't need.
exactly. So the Republicans are using reconciliation to pass the big beautiful bill. Uh, that therefore it doesn't get bogged down in the Senate with a filibuster, which the Democrats will do. Okay, all right.
Yep.
However, because of reconciliation, the Doge cuts are deemed to be discretionary and cannot be cut through reconciliation. Am I making sense?
Absolute sense, and it really goes to the problem we have in particularly in the Senate. There's some of it in the House, but in particularly in the Senate, when you got traitors, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and others uh, that are just going
Oh
to
yeah, and
stab us
Susan
in the
Collins
back.
already has issues with some of the Doge cuts.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Okay.
because she's corrupt as hell. So she's a Democrat. She's not a Republican. Yet Republicans keep giving her money to get reelected, which is, you know what, to hell with her. Cut her out. You know, if there's going to be a Democrat there, then let there be a Democrat there.
Well, like I said, I don't know if Marjorie Taylor did it on purpose or if she's maybe had her fill of the tomfoolery, but she on the Chris DeGolf show said, "Oh, hold on a minute, this big beautiful bill does not contain Doge cuts," and they're like, "What? What?" And of
Well,
course, the MAGA people.
I've seen from MAGA people, which I consider myself one, but uh, the complaint that there's not enough cuts, there's not enough. We want a balanced budget and we want the deficit gone. My problem with a lot of those folks is they want it right now. And if it isn't done right now, then it's no good. And just let the Democrats run the country. That's
Well,
their childish, I'm going to take my ball home, crybaby bullshit that they pull. And I can't stand it.
well, what I've come to find out, and I'm gonna reference Chris DeGaulle as my primary source in what I'm about to say, and I think I may have heard the same thing on Vince Colanese too, uh, but I actually listened to Chris DeGaulle almost the entire show on the podcast format because I can't catch it all in the morning. Anyways, here's the game plan. The Doge cuts are not in the big, beautiful bill, but the Doge cuts can be implemented through a term called rescission. Okay. Uh, but Trump has to, by item, initiate them. Now, here's where, you know, the parliamentary procedures come to play. Rescission is not subject to filibuster and can be passed up or down majority vote. So even though the Doge cuts aren't in the big beautiful bill because of reconciliation, they and and so much flack has been sent to the House. Even the Speaker of the House and even Trump has said, "All right, we get it," and they're already itemizing those cuts through rescinding them. You know, even though the big beautiful bill hasn't passed yet, they're already saying, yeah, we're going to do this through rescinding through
Okay.
rescinding bills.
Right.
Each and every Doge cut, if I understand it, each and every Doge cut has to almost like stand alone, go through rescission. Okay, and then majority vote up or
It's
down.
going to bring the government to a grinding halt while we play these built-in corruption, is what I consider it,
Well,
games.
right now, the way I understand it, right now, rescission is the only way these Doge cuts can be implemented.
Well, as long as
And
they get done, I guess that should, at the end of the day, make people happy. But this is the game we're playing, and they're not going away, and they're not going away with a fight. But we need to take care of our own traitors first. So, I've been one of the people who've been critical of Cash Patel and Pam Bondi and others for not getting these people arrested and put in jail. But you know what? Before you can do that, you got to get rid of the traitors on your team, and then you can get to work.
well, in regards to the minutia behind these parliamentary procedures, and I'll confess, I, you know, I mean, I felt like I was going through a civics lesson 101 government style last week.
Right. Well,
You know what I'm
I'm
saying?
part of organizations that use parliamentary procedures, but this was a well above that.
This is just, I mean, no wonder nothing gets done.
For every zig, there's a zag, though, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
that
really.
could be a positive or a negative thing.
And I've said my piece on this. Hopefully this is a done deal by July 4th because and I don't know why they're again, I don't know why July 4th is a cutoff date. I don't know what the cutoff date is for this big beautiful bill has because if this big beautiful bill doesn't pass, they're saying all these Trump tax cuts from his first term are no more. And they say taxes could go up in the neighborhood of 60% in some areas. And they said, oh, and if that happens, we're in deep doo doo, you
Yeah,
know?
we're a deep doo doo, and you can thank a Democrat and a rhino for it.
So, you know, I've said my piece, Mac. Any final thoughts? And I hope this
Well,
segment hasn't been
you
too
know,
boring for.
if we get to close to that, I hope the president does a national address and he gives full credit to those responsible
Well, yeah,
by
yeah.
name. It's time to call these people out by name. There's no winning over Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. Call them what they are. You know what? I might be tempted to use the full force of the government to find out everything there is to know about those two and expose them for what they are.
Yeah, and you mentioned those two. Let's just throw out Mitch McConnell's name, who's barely hanging on by a thread. The
Yeah.
problem there is well, certainly he's no friend to MAGA, but if let's just say he passes before the next vote, uh, Kentucky's got a Democrat governor.
Yeah, we're gonna get
That
another rhino.
that's the problem. Well, Scott Jennings from CNN, who's made quite a name for himself and made CNN almost single-handedly viewable. Okay.
Right.
Uh, it appears he's from Kentucky, and there is some leaning on him to run for
He's
McConnell's
he's
seat.
running for that seat. Watch.
And I got to tell you, if he executes in any kind of fashion like he has on CNN, he'll be a good guy.
Yeah,
But
I
you
think
know
so
what?
too.
You can show yourself on camera one way, and then when push comes to shove, do a 180. Who
Well, we,
knows?
we've seen that with repeatedly with Supreme Court nominees,
I mean, you
Trojan
got
horses.
you got a couple Republican senators from the South, and Tillis, and there's another guy. I forget his name, but they claim to be MAGA supporters, and then they don't even act like. I mean, they say one thing and do another. you
Well,
know?
maybe somebody pulls out the Epstein list and they're on it, and and I'm not saying they are, but maybe it's something like that. They remind them, hey, you better get back in line, or this will become public.
Yep, yep. So that's all I got. I guess we've said our piece on this topic, and I hope it's been informative for our supporters and viewers out there. And we'll call this one a wrap. Thanks everyone. If you're watching us on Rumble, thank you very much. And we'll catch you in the next segment. As always, be safe, watch your six, and don't tread on me.